Hey, yo, what a div, y'all. Let's get right into it. Super Saiyan Atlas just began less than 40 hours ago, and it's time for me to go ahead and actually talk about what I league started because I did not get to talk about it ahead of time. I just ran out of time between my burnout, active work schedule, and then also just straight up, I needed a moment, you know? So I didn't really have time to actually get to talk about this build ahead of time. And that's fine because I think if I had talked about it ahead of time, I would have really undersold how good this character is going to feel, as well as would have just been completely unaware of an insane upgrade to this type of league start that they just added to the game this patch. So let's get into all of that, right? Saboteur, right? This ascendancy got updated. It was a very important update. Very, very important update, honestly. And the leading factor on why this Icicle Mines is on Sabo instead of any other ascendancy. Sabo has had its place in the mining ascendancy order for a while as kind of the tankier one. I would argue that, like, obviously Trickster got tankier, but it had even less damage than Sabo. And so Sabo is supposed to be like a nice middle ground between, say, like Assassin or Deadeye or Cultist, levels of damage versus like Trickster levels of tankiness. But Trickster just like was a pretty dysfunctional ascendancy before. And so getting a couple nodes of love really helped it out. Of course, the main one for specifically Icicle Mines being the Pocket Nimbus node, Shrapnel Specialist. It being a Nimbus in your pocket is absolutely insane for single target and clear. I don't feel like I need to elaborate on why. Now, alternative to that though, or not even alternative, but in addition rather to that, we got Born in the Shadows being connected to Pyromaniac, and this was like in one of the patch notes of the patch notes, and this was such an important patch to the patch, because it basically means that I no longer have a dead ascendancy node. The aura node in the mine ascendancy, or Sabo ascendancy, is entirely useless. Like for this build, it's only really that particularly useful for, say, like Pyroclast mines, occasionally Stormblast mine, and most often high impact mines. If you're doing a Blast Chain mine or you're playing Icicle mine, that aura effect node is like cosmetic as hell. And I always hated that personally. So glad I got a way to go around it while still getting access to Pyromaniac, because Pyromaniac is absolutely insane and actually enables a big part of why I'm happy with the self-chill setup that we have going on, right? But of course, the bigger thing is just like going Born in Shadows. Let's go. We love that node. And we also got a new fourth node for this build, a Lucky Crit, which I'm not going to pretend that the Lucky Crit node is absolutely bonkers or anything, but it does allow me to use Marilyn's Fallacy early as a relatively strong neck. It's PO being a roughly equivalent to a +1 neck with T1 crit multi and crafted mining throwing speed, which is pretty good for a 1C unique. So just saying, putting that out there, right? Now, the other part of the starter, of course, is Icicle Mine. We love this skill. It's my favorite skill. Well, not my favorite, but like top 3 for sure. I've played it tons of time in recent leagues, and I'm going by leagues, not years. I know it's weird, but like whatever. I've played it like 2 or 3 times in Dota actually, as well as multiple times since. And now here I am league starting it finally. It feels fantastic to play. And it's got some upgrades, right? One, with Pocket Nimbus, we need projectile speed. I found that the breakpoints seem to be somewhere in the ballpark of like 130-ish%, question mark. Not 100% certain if that's exactly accurate, but that's where I was able to maintain a consistent return when testing in standard before the league with a Nimbus. So 130% is the number I'm aiming for, but this only applies in completely wide open areas, right? It can obviously bounce off walls or enough enemies. I was just trying to make sure that if I got stuck in the middle of a boss arena, I wouldn't be stuck without my ascendancy node working, right? Very important to me. The other major thing that, to know about this character, self-chill, baby. There was a new belt added this league, Archon's Tools. We'll talk about it when we get in game, but it's a belt added. Do not worry about the cost of it, at least at the moment. It was really cheap. As of recording, anywho, if it gets more expensive because of this video, I apologize. But I doubt it because it seems really common off of the like incarnation fights, which are not particularly hard to get access to. And so that means that there's just this insane belt that's tailor-made for miners. in the pool, and we are very, very happy about it. The only downside to this belt existing, quite frankly, is that there's now like a friction point of, do I even bother going Maid's Blood? Yes, but do I even bother, right? Because I actually give up a lot of things that actually boost the performance of the character in exchange for movement speed. I'll have to make that decision when I get there, right? But those are the two major things that really like changed about the build going in. Now, before I keep going and talk about other impressions and then do a brief in-game run over of some things to talk about, I want to talk about Sanctum, right? The Sanctum update hit, and from my testing, I did a little bit last night and this morning, obviously off stream, because I was streaming until pretty late, and then I remembered before I went to bed, I was like, I need to do some testing of Sanctum for this video, as well as did some more this morning after I was fresh of mind. And I can feel the nerf, but it's not the end of the day. Like you definitely feel a little bit more of a dry streak on divines. It does not really feel like that big of a punishment though if you're a consistent 4-4 runner. And then the actual reduced drop rate feels like it's somewhere between, or like the reduced spawn rate, maybe like 15-20%. I don't know. It didn't feel particularly ridiculous, but you felt it, which winds up with my prediction initially that this change will impact the mid game of Sanctum a lot more than the early game. Other related Sanctum changes that need to be talked about is the fact that there is a div card now that drops the Osin relic. Don't worry, it's just the relic, but you should still crash out anyways just because it's fun. And more importantly, because quite frankly, I just hate div cards, and I would have a rant about that if this video didn't have a completely different focus, right? There's that div card. We also get gold now. And most importantly, actually, Elrion 3 in transportation gives us Sanctum Tums. This part is not important for us as Sanctum runners, but more so just the note that there's actually a deterministic way to farm them means that there might be more control over the price of them in future league starts, as well as the fact that this is now a thing that can be farmed in private leagues and such, or SSF. Very, very relevant for pretty much everyone. Huge information to know about. With all that said, before I keep it going, just a reminder, if you want to, support the channel, or just want to stay in contact with me more, to see more of what's going on or whatever, subscribe to the channel, notifications on. Definitely the best way to support, and you'll know when I'm posting here. But also join the Discord or come by the Twitch. Both of those links are in the description, so you can see when I'm live and ask me questions and interact there, or you can interact with the community of the Discord. Either or. I promise we don't bite. Now, as for some extra thoughts, right? Extra thoughts when we get in game. 1, Secrets of the Atlas. I will save some of my more in-depth critiques of the idea so far until like another video later in the league when I have some more thoughts. My early thoughts are flowers are pretty. The memories are sick. I'm so glad that they updated the memory system. Memory strands feel strong. Like they feel like they do something, but it's a weird type of do something. But they do feel impactful, and I don't hate them. And I would like if they were more infamous mods. I feel like only 27 mods in that pool is a bit whack, to say the least. That's about as many thoughts as I can give about Secrets of the Atlas for now, without really getting into like the spoilery territory and or just even like in some of my more criticism-based thoughts, because I think some of my criticisms right now might be unfounded until I get to play with it at endgame, and maybe they like balance out with some of my criticism, and like my positives from endgame balance out better with my criticisms about progression regarding this update. And then of course the other side of this update being the mercenaries, which I think they're really cool. I think they add a lot of character to the game. I think that they were really cool to like experiment around with like gem setups on in particular. Really cool to like find those. You can rob their pockets for all sorts of things such as Hinnercore's locks and mirrors. I'm so jealous of those people, right? You can find all sorts of high value uniques early, or just really strong leveling uniques early. Overall, really, really big fan of this system. One problem with it for me at the moment is that I do feel like they do too much damage to us still, even after a couple of them got hotfix nerfed. But I don't know if that's just my build being turbo squishy. Give me your feedback in the comments on that. Like, I just kind of want to know. I feel like everybody has like their merc they stay away from. I'm curious what yours is, right? But those are like some preliminary thoughts. I'll have more thoughts when we get to that point later. Anyways, I want to go in game and like actually show you guys the cell chill stuff and any other relevant like nooks and crannies of the character before I get back on to blasting myself. And now that we're in game, let's talk about the character. Level 90, because I die a lot to mercs. I was not kidding when I said that these things suck and they hurt. Let's start with talking about, again, the proj. You'll see I have 181. I'm a bit over invested. It's just because I'm getting ready to try to take out faster proj, but we're not quite there yet, right? That's number one. Otherwise, a lot of the gear is fairly standard. March to the Legion is pretty nuts. As per always for this build, the aura gem levels really like make up for not having the extra support space. And when I get it up to say +7, +6 is usually 2 supports worth of damage. +7, +8 is when we really get into that good territory. +9, I'm losing it. And this is really important because I will probably be wearing March of Allegiance the entirety of the time of this character, because when I do upgrade, I want to go into like Shot of the Lightless with Wrath Pith Globe, life stacking. It's one of my favorite archetypes of this character, and I haven't done it in a while. But before I can get there, we have to focus on the other things at hand, such as this belt, the Archon's tools. This is the major upgrade I was talking about earlier in the intro to the video, or like intro, quote unquote. It's a 10-minute intro, so I don't know if you can call that an intro, but you get what I mean. As I was giving my thoughts, this is the belt. This belt is ridiculous, right? When I first saw it, I didn't even think about the fact that it gave me Scorching Skitterbot. I was too focused on the fact that I could self-chill or self-curse with this. Self-curse, if you're curious, by the way, profane proxy. That's all I'm going to say. So, because you can actually like project these auras onto yourself, you just have to figure out how to deal with any downsides that come with them. As a Pyro, or as a Sabo with Pyromaniac allocated rather, shock doesn't affect us, which means that we just need to deal with the chill. And I realized that the chill can be inverted with Winterweave, so that we are just throwing mines 23% faster at the moment. And then we lose 21% all of our elemental reses, and that's fine. We just have to over res our gear to account for that. Wow, that was a lot harder of a word to say than it should have been. Now, other thing about this is that I did have some difficulties with staying in range of my Skitterbots. You can see even with just walking around, they're messing up the AoE. 2 options: give your minions ink AoE support. That was one I considered. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to quality my Skitterbots so they're faster and run around quicker, and then give them. And I've been using Convocation on my automation to like bring them to me while mapping, so that I can spend more of my time with the buff active. It's worth noting, they do gravitate naturally towards enemies. So if you feel like you can't find them, they're probably just like on top of the boss and you're hiding like a bitch or something, right? Just calling it is what it is for a second. Other things that are relevant about the character besides this, I mean, not too much. I feel like a lot of builds is just self-explanatory to POB. You don't need lethal pride for this build to function, but it did let me drop this 30-pointer and this 30-pointer. So, you know, it literally just stacking strength, by the way. Strength, yeah, that's all the strength, and a lot of like the small passes when I give strength. I actually literally only took survivalist because it had strength on it, and I wanted to just like really like ice off my strength more comfortably, because I wanted to make some other changes to spots in my gearing. Okay, that covers like most of the stuff on the character side, honestly. If you're curious where this character's headed next, I can tell you we're gonna get at least 1 cluster setup, if not 2. It'll probably be 1 for now, and I'm looking at 2 clusters. If I decide, wait, for when I'm going to Sanctum, not even when, if it's when, I will be going into Sanctum, hopefully within the next 2 days maximum. Just need to farm up some money and really like, you know, push the damage up, because I love Icicle Mine in Sanctum, and this feels like it's going to be a fantastic setup for it. I gotta just think about how the tree like molds to accompany that. If you have any questions about anything about the POV or anything like that, feel free to drop them in, you know, in the comments. Or you can ask me on stream, ask me in the Discord, whatever. I will answer your question. I do see it. I'm here to help, as per usual. Otherwise, though, look, we love this skill, right? Like this is the best skill in the game, and that's live, but you know what it is. Also, I didn't really answer it earlier because like it's a lame thing to have to answer. But in case you're going to ask why not play Rolling Magma instead of this, I like my computer. That's all there is to it. I like my computer, and I really like this skill. That's it. Right? I'm not gonna act like I have some fancy pretend answer where it's like, oh yeah, actually it's like 13 times stronger. Like, no, Jung would be hyping this up instead if it were 13 times stronger, right? Just like calling that out real quick just to make sure I get ahead of the ball on that. Other than that, though, that's everything. Thank y'all for watching. You know, support the video, support the channel, go join the communities that I have linked in the description, all that stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys' league start has been going really well. Take care, y'all. Peace.